This is Kathy from GadgetStop321, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Roses. I'm going to test it in a variety of pins and nib sizes ranging from a Pilot Extra Fine to a 1.5 stub, and I'm going to compare it to a few other burgundy and maroon inks that I've been trying here lately. I'm going to begin with my Pilot 78G Plus with an extra fine nib. Not scratchy so far, very fine line though. I am going to I'm not going to call this nice because I don't think I would like to write an entire page with this, but just for short bits of writing like in a planner, I'm going to put that it is not scratchy. I'm running out of room here. Scratchy. I'm writing on the next page. Okay. Let's see. Next, I've got my Sailor Pro Gear Slim with a fine nib. I guess I can start farther over here. About the same amount, excuse me, of feedback, but since the tipping is a little bit larger, it's just more comfortable. I am going to go ahead and put that this is nice, but with a notable amount of feedback. If that's the kind of thing that you really don't like, you might not like that. And next, I was pleasantly surprised last time when I tried my Sailor LaCool with Black Swan and English Roses. It performed much better than it usually does, was more pleasant to write with. Let's see how it does with Australian Roses. Yeah. I would say it feels a little bit better than the Pro Gear Slim, and I think it just has to do with the shape of the nib. I'm gonna just put nice on this one. There is feedback, but I think it's less feedback than the Pro Gear Slim fine nib. Next, I've got a Platinum 3776 with a medium nib. I like this. This is my favorite so far. I can hear the nib scratching on the paper, but it's not unpleasant. It's smoother than the previous nibs. I'm not going to put smooth, but I'm going to put nice. I like the amount of ink that it's putting on the page and just the way it looks. This is reminding me of Yamabudo. We'll compare in a moment and see how this looks compared to Yamabudo, Roshizuku. Okay, now I've got my Kaweco Perkeo all black. This sounds like the Platinum Medium, but it's noticeably smoother. Looks like it's it's a little bit wetter. That explains it being smoother. Okay. Next, I've got a Pilot Metropolitan with a cursive medium nib. This is pretty smooth. Look how narrow those side strokes are. Yeah, that was pleasant. And it's not a whole lot different in the tone of the ink. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Sometimes the Pilot Metropolitan this cursive medium can show up like a little too pale, like it's not putting down enough ink, but it looks like it's putting down roughly the same amount of ink as the other mediums. And finally, my 1.5 Stub Nib. This is a Jinhao X750. Yeah, this is very enjoyable to write with. Puts down a lot of ink, and I'm seeing the shading there. We'll let that dry while we take a look at some of the other writing samples. I'm going to go ahead and scoot this out of the way because I've got my Colorverse Dark Energy that I did earlier, and Monteverde Burgundy. Dark Energy's looking really brown. Black Swan and English Roses. Now, let me see. It's looking a little more red here. It's a little more maroon in person. Yamabudo, that looks about right. It looks really purple compared to the rest of these. And then compared to the rest of these, Australian Roses looks pretty pink. Now, when I was just looking at it on its own, it looked really burgundy to me, like down here. But compared to the others, you can see just how pink it is. And out of all of these, the one I bought a bottle of to write with was the Colorverse Dark Energy, and it really looks brown compared to the rest of these, but it looks a little more maroon when you look at it all by itself. But just the results from Australian Roses on this ARC notebook paper, everything was pretty nice, and look, not really any feathering. And just like English Roses, that's not English Roses, it didn't bleed through on this ARC paper. Let's see. In my Rhodia paper, the extra fine was a little bit scratchy, but the rest of them were very nice, enjoyable to use. No sheen, just really nice shading, really in everything. Even in this fine nib, the Sailor, you get some noticeable shading. It's not super in your face. Now, you get some pretty noticeable shading starting here in the Platinum Medium. Now, I really am liking this. And you can see the difference between, on the 20-pound copy paper, the difference between the English Roses and the Australian Roses. It just looks a little bit more pink. The writing results were similar. The extra fine, said that it did not feel scratchy. It wasn't like nice to use. If I had just a little bits of writing to do, that it would be tolerable. The Pro Gear Slim feels a little dry. The Sailor LeCool, I think, was a nice balance between the fine and the medium. The fine was a little bit too dry. The medium was putting down a little too much ink, and it was starting to spread and feather. The LeCool with the medium fine was a nice balance. The rest of the nibs just were putting down too much ink. It didn't feel that enjoyable, and it was bleeding through some on those. Let's see what it looks like in my Leuchtturm. Again, no sheen. These two are just velvety. Looking at them on the paper, oh, it's really pretty here, and seeing them in person. Just very subtle shading, but so pretty. You can see the slight difference in color between the two. And now on Tomoe River. No sheen, but you're seeing the shading. And Australian Roses is the one you hear the most about. I know, but I think I like English Roses better. I prefer the more, for my everyday writing, I prefer more muted colors. This is pretty. It's got that brightness to it, but for my everyday writing, I prefer the more subdued, muted colors. But they perform very similarly. Very nice inks. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.